Hi everyone! Today we're going to tackle the question, does you have magical powers? This has been a conversation going on for a while and been around for a while. I'm not the first person to think this. In a cast full of mages, people are going to wonder if you could, too, use magic. I don't know why I phrased that so weird. But anyway, people are going to wonder about it. But I want to tackle this now before I potentially get debunked or corrected, because the event that sparked this idea for me is about to get localized. So it's now or never. I mean, this still does apply even if I was wrong, but I work better with deadlines, so, you know. Last year when I was translating Sage and Playful Land, something Leona said really caught me off guard. When he, some other NRC students, Fellow and Gidel are talking about magic, Fellow tells them that he can use a little magic but Gidel can't. Leona replies that, used the same, I can barely smell magic power on them. Which made me short-circuit for a hot minute because, wait, what do you mean you can barely smell magic on them? Does that mean they have magic? Or is it just a smell that can rub off on you? Because Leona's talking about you in the previous sentence, I don't think he's suddenly talking about Gidel with that barely smelling magic comment. It has to be referring to you. So this got me thinking, does you actually have magic? I think there's a lot of valid points on both sides of the argument of you having magic or not having magic, so let's talk about those. Then I'm going to explain what I think is actually going on, because if I'm being honest, I think the answer to this is yes and no. But let's start off with the evidence that yes, you does have magic. The most important piece of evidence is Yu's visions of what the Great Seven were actually like. Visions are not a normal thing people have, they're a supernatural phenomenon. For you to be able to have visions, that means they have to have some sort of magic, right? Magic's also supernatural, it's most likely all connected, especially in Twisted Wonderland where it said ghosts are more corporeal in places with high magic concentrations. Magic probably helps them manifest, so in a place with a lot of magic, Yu's visions are more likely to happen. That would explain why, even though the beginning animation shows the mirror, Yu doesn't have to be in the same room with the mirror to have visions. It's just a magic thing. Or maybe they actually are going to the mirror, but we'll talk about that later. We know that magic can manifest at different ages for people. We know Rollo's younger brother's magic manifested extremely young, but Rollo himself didn't know he was a mage until far later. Sepik is said to have been a late bloomer when it comes to magic. It's possible that Yu is an extreme late bloomer. And then of course we have Leona's comment as a piece of evidence. Leona has a very keen sense of smell and is good at detecting magic. I can't imagine he would mistake someone else's magic for Yu's. And I also doubt it's a scent that can rub off on people. Perhaps if they had an enchantment or something on them, then it'd just be on them. But I don't think that's the case for Yu. Playful Land hadn't changed Yu's clothes then, and not to mention, if Playful Land's magic already got on Yu, Leona would be able to tell. And then what would have been the point of saying what he did? Playful Land's magic would have been on all of them, so why single out Yu as barely having magic on them? It just doesn't make sense. Now let's look at the evidence for Yu not having magic. In Glorious Masquerade, fire lotuses which suck magic out of mages avoid Yu. That would mean they have no magic, otherwise the fire lotuses would have gone after them. The fire lotuses went after anything and everything that had even the smallest bit of magic. They were climbing walls and stuff. Walls cannot use magic, so they must be suffused with it, and they were still going after that, tiny bit of magic. So if you had any, they would have been attacked, but they weren't. There's also the fact that the other freshmen, when Yu tells them about the visions, don't seem hugely shocked. If visions were truly magical, wouldn't they be more shocked that somehow Yu has some sort of magic? But no, they're fairly chill about it, even a bit dismissive that it must just be random dreams. This could mean a lot of things. It could mean they don't care, that it's not special, or perhaps visions aren't magical in Twisted Wonderland and they're not an indicator of magic. We honestly don't know. But because the others don't really comment on it or they even dismiss it, that could mean visions just aren't magical. And then we have another quote from Leona to use as evidence. When he first meets Yu, he kind of weirdly smells them and then says he doesn't smell magic on them. I don't really have a lot to say on that. Except he says something different in the main story. And yeah, maybe he realized later he was wrong, which led to the Playful Land quote, but if I'm gonna use one Leona quote as evidence, I have to use the other. So what's going on? Does Yu have magic, or do they not? Like I said, I think it's a mixture of both, so let me explain. In the ultimate game, Ikemen Revolution, the main character Alice is isekai to a world filled with magic. She can't use magic because she's not from that world, but she has a very special ability. Because her world, our world really, doesn't have magic, she has the ability to nullify and deflect magic. This isn't considered magic by the others, but it's still considered a very special skill, and it's one she can hone and use like magic, although it's technically not. It's something we would consider magic, but in universe, it's not. I think something very similar could be going on with you. Yes, they do have special abilities that we would consider magical, but in universe and Twisted Wonderland, use powers are not considered magical or even register as magical to most people. They're so used to magic being one thing, and use powers aren't of that world. Hence, use powers not being treated or recognized as magic. This would explain why Leona says he can barely smell magical power on them. He's picking up on their abilities, and maybe he thinks it's close enough to magic to refer to it as that. Or maybe he straight up thinks it is magic. It's not like he's met anyone else from our world to compare to. And like I said with his no magic quote, maybe he realized later there is something somewhat magical to use visions later. I don't know. I think there's also another possibility. I have a suggestion box where people can send stuff in, and Celia asked me to talk about Mickey and Ramshackle's mirror. Celia, if you're listening, I'm going to answer that in full in September's podcast, but I'm going to touch on some things right now. So just as a heads up, I will be answering this in full later. I'm just using stuff right now because it's relevant. So her question got me thinking, and I think use visions might not be visions on their own exactly. I think there's the possibility that you has the ability to scry and doesn't know it. Scrying is a magic practice from our world where you stare at something to see visions of the past or the future or other places, etc., etc. Most of the time when people do this, they use mirrors or some sort of reflective surface. I don't remember when Grimm says this, but he's mentioned he's seen you up in the middle of the night just staring at the mirror. I think he was referring to you seeing Mickey, but it got me thinking. The beginning animation for use visions always involves a mirror and going into it. What if you sleepwalking, for lack of a better term, and scrying with the mirror, or at least most of the times they're doing that? There's been stories of people just scrying with their eyes closed, so that could explain why you can see visions when they're not in Ramshackle, like when they're sleeping over at Leona's. It's not always through the mirror. Or you actually did really sleepwalk all the way to Ramshackle and then back, but I don't know, that does sound kind of far-fetched. I don't know if I really believe the sleepwalking stuff, but on the other hand, I can't fully, verbalize how to explain it, so I'm like, that's the closest I can get. I mean, you could also be connected to that mirror somehow, I don't know. When I was researching scrying, I didn't necessarily find tales of people being, attached at the hip with their mirrors that they use for scrying, so, I don't know. And I don't do scrying myself, so, I don't know. But anyways, back to the video and back to my script. Like I've said before, Leona is mistaking this ability for magic. And to be fair, this is considered magic in our world. It could be that Yu has magical abilities, but whether or not they're classified like that is up in the air. Yu definitely has something going on. But who knows if it truly qualifies as magic or not. And also, like I said earlier, Yu's abilities might only be manifesting now because they're in such a magic-filled environment. This could explain why Yu doesn't know they have the ability to scry or see visions, either one. Although, frankly, I do think it's scrying. I don't know why, I just feel that in my bones. It's not necessarily magical, but it's supernatural and can be brought out by being around things to, fuel that ability. Those are my thoughts on Yu having magic as of now. Obviously, this will change later. I think we'll get a definitive answer down the line, but for now, I really do think Yu has the ability to scry, and it's in this weird, yes, it's magic, but also no territory. Honestly, maybe Yu has other abilities that we just don't know of yet. We still have a lot of questions to be answered, and this is definitely one of them. But I hope you guys enjoyed my little deep dive into this. Like I said, I have a suggestion box if you want to send in suggestions or topics for me to talk about either on its own if I can write a full script about it or on my little podcast. Link will be in the description, but yeah, I hope you guys like this video. Thank you everyone for watching, and a very special thank you to my channel members and Twitch subs. Your support helps me to continue to make these videos. If you'd like early access to my videos, consider becoming a channel member. Patrons and Ko-fi members can get my scripts early before I record them. I livestream over on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see y'all later.